It is the 7th of July 2020, and this is the MMA Movement live chat. I'm your host, Rob Palin, and if you don't know me, that means you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, but it's very easy to fix. It's so simple. Just hit the subscribe button down below and you'll fix it. And while you're down there, why not hit the like button as well, because it really helps us out. I'm joined as always by Sean Taylor on the other side of the screen. How are you doing, Sean?
I'm all right, man. How are you?
Living my best life. And the reason why I'm living my best life is because there's a card on this weekend, and it was made better in the last few days. I can't remember what day it was. It was a few days ago that Jorge Masvidal was announced to be facing Kamaru Usman for the title instead of Gilbert Burns. But not saying the Gilbert Burns fight was bad, but I think
No.
it's possibly an improvement. But we'll discuss that. We'll see what your take is on that. I want to react to that news because we haven't actually done that on the channel just yet, but I also want to talk about the card as well. But the way the show works is we take your questions. So if you're in the live chat right now, pop some questions in there and we'll get to them in a few minutes. And if you left some questions on the community tab, we'll get to them also. But Sean, let's first jump into that news. So Jorge Masvidal is now headlining this card on the weekend against Kamaru Usman for the welterweight belt. Apparently the BMF belt isn't on the line, so no, that was a one-time deal. But we have the welterweight title up for grabs. What was your reaction when you saw this news the other day, whatever day it was? And do you feel it's a better fight than the original?
I just thought of it, that gif of, is it like the teacher in South Park where he's laying at his desk and it's just like this covered in
Oh, that was
no one
it.
talking about
The
it.
die, yeah. Stands out, lad, yeah. Covered
Yeah.
in ectoplasm, we'll say.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the gif I thought of when I
Yeah,
heard this
fair
news.
enough.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a better fight. I definitely think it's a more fan friendly fight. I think it's the fight we all really wanted, and it couldn't be made. So the UFC, it's the fight the UFC wanted to make, and they couldn't get it made. So they went with Gilbert, who was a cheaper option. And it's not to say that Gilbert is a lesser fight. It just happened that he was the cheaper option in that time of a pandemic. They couldn't make the deal with Masvidal. But yeah, I think it's definitely a more fan friendly fight. I'm
Yeah.
buzzing for it. Like I can't wait.
Yeah, like it's hard to predict whether it's a better fight in terms of like competitively if it was a better fight. I think a lot of people might argue that Gilbert was probably a little bit of a tougher challenge than a Masvidal. Although I'll probably argue that I think Masvidal right now with the momentum that he has and his ability to shut people down with one punch and the fact that he's really well rounded. Like I've heard a lot of people talk about Gilbert Burns and Masvidal, who's more well rounded, and I think you can make the argument that Masvidal's probably a little bit more well rounded. He probably just has a style that maybe could be trumped by Usman more than a Gilbert. But yeah, in terms of fan friendliness, in terms of buzz, in terms of maybe pay-per-view buys, I think definitely pay-per-view buys, this is definitely a bigger fight. Like there's way more buzz for this going in.
I think Masvidal being on the card adds 300 to 500k buys to it, pay-per-view wise.
Maybe.
I think it adds
Uh,
some big numbers.
I definitely think I had some big numbers. I want to talk about the fight as well in terms of how we're seeing it, because that's the big thing. Like Masvidal says he's been training a little bit. I watched an interview today with Usman, and I have a couple of thoughts on the interview. He had one with Brett Okamoto, and I had
Usman
some
did?
takeaways from it. Yeah, he had an interview.
Okay.
But in terms of the actual matchup, how do you see these two guys matching up? Do you think it's a bad matchup for Masvidal, like a lot of people have said? Although I feel like because it's on such short notice, a lot of people are like almost dismissing maybe the stylistic matchup that they were thinking about originally with it, and they're almost just saying, this is great, and Masvidal could possibly
Yeah.
win it. But how do you feel like they match up?
It's hard to see because we all get so excited, and you kind of just like to put all the logical stuff aside and just get caught up in being so excited for the fight, because you don't get this sort of stuff in other sports where, like, on what planet does a guy like, I don't know, Anthony Joshua isn't stepping up on 6 days' notice to fight Deontay Wilder?
No.
You don't get that kind of stuff in other sports, so it's just fun and more than nothing else to get caught up in the thrill of it. I think it is a tough matchup for Masvidal, even with a full camp. But it's tough for Usman to go into with a full camp. Burns and Masvidal are both really well rounded, but in different ways. If that makes sense.
Yeah, big, yeah, 100%.
I think it's a tough matchup for Masvidal, but like he has been training, like he's been staying fit. And did you watch his interview with Arya?
Yeah,
It's hard not to believe him. Like,
I know. there just seems to be this buzz around Masvidal right now, and I feel like Usman, on the other hand, there's almost a lack of buzz. It doesn't seem like he's coming across as like the baby face, if you want to use pro wrestling terms. He doesn't seem like he's coming across as the good guy, but he's almost trying to be that good guy. And like when I look through every video of an interview with Usman, it seems like fans aren't really buying into him, even though he's an excellent fighter. And I'm not saying that means anything in terms of like what's going to happen in the fight, but what I did feel like listening to the interview with Usman with Brett Okamoto was he seemed, not that he was not confident, but he seemed to be questioning a lot of the details around the fight, whereas Masvidal is just like, you know, I took the fight, I was I was training, and this is what I do every day, and it is what it is, kind of Max Holloway style. Whereas I feel like Usman a little bit was not coming up with excuses, but in a sense he was, because he was talking about how after Gilbert Burns fell out, immediately he went out and he started eating a shit ton of food. Like he said that he was like, he went overboard with the food, and he was worried now about the weight cut. And then he was talking about how he has everything to lose because Masvidal's coming in. And I'm not saying any of those are wrong assessments of the situation, but I feel like he's really leaning on those aspects of the fight rather than kind of being carefree like Masvidal coming in. And I think that's going to be an advantage for Masvidal. I really do. I think Masvidal coming in so loose, he's always going to be like that. And Usman knowing he has so much to lose, I feel like that's going to be an advantage for Masvidal.
Yeah, Masvidal has nothing to lose here. If he wins, he's on a different stratosphere. If he loses, he's fucking on 6 days' notice.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have anything to lose here, in my opinion. Usman's a funny one, like unbelievably skilled fighter, like really, really good. But like as a character, a bit vanilla, isn't he?
Yeah, a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just, it is what it is.
It's not a slight on him, but like, it is what it is. Like, it is what it is. Yeah, he's a bit vanilla as a character. I'm not sure how much I buy in. I'm sure he did go and eat a bit. I'm not sure how much I buy into that he went massively overboard. You can't believe everyone fighters say like.
No, you can't. And again, whether it's true or not, I just feel like their mindsets are very different right now, and I feel like that will play in somehow. Yeah. I'm not saying it's going to be the deciding factor in the fight, because there's a lot of physical aspects that has to go on, and I think, you know, if you look at it on paper, Usman probably does have the better in a lot of those physical aspects. In those, you know, in the wrestling, he certainly has an advantage. I don't think he's a better striker. I think if he stays in the feet too long with Masvidal, he could have some trouble. But he's efficient there. He's not that bad. He's quite good actually. Cardio, I mean, Usman's cardio is off the charts. Masvidal has had good cardio over his career. I don't think it's to the level of an Usman, especially an Usman who has a full camp. But I also do think that Masvidal has had some kind of camp. I think he's been anticipating something like this happening. If not now, then possibly on the road.
In that interview with Ariel, he was like, "You're all gonna." He pretty much said, "I'm expecting you all to come calling." I had something in my head down. I lost my train of thought. What was it? I can't remember. Sorry.
No bother. I'm going to jump into the live chat here because we need to save Sal Vestol before he runs off. Sal was asking, do I listen to my boys across the pond or go out to the
Sal,
110?
In live. It's been a while since we had him in the live chat.
110 degrees in Las Vegas. It's probably like that most days anyway. Like, it's fine.
That's just Tuesday weather. That.
It's fucking nothing. So stick around, Sal. Ask us those questions that you can only ask us. Yeah, let's talk about.
I remember what I was going to say now about Masvidal. He just seemed in his interviews. He just seemed really content with life and everything in general. He just seems really like at peace. Like it doesn't seem nervous, twitchy, like restless or anything. He just seems really content in life at the minute.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty cool going into a fight.
100%.
Well. I think that's a massive advantage.
The fact that it is true. Everything Usman has said, that Masvidal has so much to gain, and you know, it's not that he has little to lose, because I think you can argue that if he doesn't win this one, and if he wins or if he loses, and he looks very unimpressive or he's finished or something, he's been, you know, pushing the UFC like to open their pockets for more money for the last while. So he might lose a little bit that way. If he loses this badly, I don't think he loses too much. So I think that Usman saying all this stuff, he's right. But I just don't like the way he's really leaning on it. I really don't like the way he's leaning on it. So yeah, Sean looking fresh as fuck, according to Mark Fleming.
Mark Fleming, my guy. Yeah.
Yeah, ledge. Yeah, looking fresh, Sean. Well
Thanks,
done.
Thanks, man.
Anthony Scott thought Rose Namajunas was fighting in Abu Dhabi. Yeah, she's fighting tomorrow. Tomorrow, sorry. Jeez, I think it's tomorrow already. She is fighting. She's fighting Jessica Andrade in the second fight on the main card, which is an excellent main card. And we want to talk about all these fights. So if you have any questions about any of the fights on the card, we'll talk about them. Not Never XX. What's up, lads? Watching from Galway. Nice. Sean, you going to Galway soon? No, you're going to Cork.
Planning on it. Hopefully at some point this year. Yeah, I'm actually doing Kilkenny, Cork, and Killarney and Kerry with a couple of my friends, a little road trip. So that's what we're doing. But probably going to hit up Galway at some point later in the year.
Nice.
Would have liked to go on to the Galway races this year, but not to be.
Yeah. Doug Lewis saying hi from Toronto. Excellent stuff. Let's go to the first question in the chat there because I almost missed it. It's from David Power. In your opinion, is Masvidal the best striker that Usman will have fought, and do you see him giving Usman issues there? Let me pull up his record. I think, off memory, yes.
Eventually.
I think yes, off memory. But let me just run into his... I think quite clear. He's clearly...
I think so. I'm looking at it now.
Like, I think the best striker that he's fought aside from Masvidal, you could probably argue is maybe Tyron, but maybe Dos Anjos. Dos Anjos improved his striking quite a lot. He's probably more dynamic than a Tyron, but Tyron was probably the more dangerous guy. So I'd probably say that it was Dos Anjos. So yeah, I think Jorge is leaps better than Dos Anjos, and I do think he'll have some trouble there if it stays there. The issue is it going to stay there? And I don't know.
Yeah, and it'd be I know Jorge's cardio isn't really an issue, but it would be interesting to see if it was a 5-round grappling fest, if that cardio would hold up.
Yeah, it would be interesting. He has very good.
If it's on the feet and the fight kind of stays as Masvidal wants it, it's not going to be an issue.
Yeah, it's a good question though, and that's kind of the big question in terms of how the fight is going to go. How will their striking match up, and can Masvidal keep it on the feet?
Yeah, like I don't think Jorge's wrestling is terrible. It's not bad, but it's just not on the level of Usman's.
I wonder as well, with the last fight with Usman, with Colby Covington, and I know they're both wrestlers, so you probably see that they cancel each other out because you don't want to waste so much energy looking for takedowns and possibly not getting them. But I wonder, the fact that he was enticed into that brawl kind of fight, can Masvidal entice him into that? I'd say I wouldn't think so, but he's shown that he will stand if he's feeling good. So if he's feeling good, you never know, we might get a bit of a striking match, but I tend to think that he's going to be looking for takedowns right from the get-go.
On the short notice.
Yeah.
Maybe if he did full camp, he might be feeling a bit better about it, but on short notice, you go to what you know best, don't you?
Yeah. Royal Blood said Marty wants none of this. It's done. Stunsby fans are writing off a main guy like Masvidal. We'll just hit the jackpot. Yeah.
It's hard to write Masvidal off, because I picked Darren Till and I picked Ben Askren against him.
Was he the underdog in all of those fights? I assume he was.
I think he was a favourite against Nate Diaz. Sorry.
Fair enough.
He was a favourite against Nate Diaz, but he was a pretty hefty underdog against Askren, and I think he was 9-4. I don't know why that price in my head. He was 9-4 against Darren Till. Pretty hefty underdog in both fights, and KO'd the contenders in both of them.
Yeah.
I actually seen that Till knockout today, and man, that was violent.
It was. His head bounced off the floor, didn't it? Fuck.
Yeah, he got some shots in after the knockout because he hit him with the left, and on his way down, Till is knocked out, and he gets one shot on the way down and like one more on like when he's down. It's nasty, man.
Yeah, it is. Question about his star power. Where is it gone? There, Liam Rushworth. Is Jorge a bigger star than Khabib if he wins? I don't think so.
No.
I think in America, potentially, I think Khabib's following in Russia and Europe is quite big. But you never know. Like Jorge's turned into a really, really big star these days. So you never know. My guess would be
He,
no. But
yeah, if he wins this, he's a legit pay-per-view star. I think
oh yeah.
I think at the minute he's a pretty legit pay-per-view star anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, if he wins this, he's a legit pay-per-view star.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he already is, as you said. But
He has that personality as well. He
yeah.
just is a pay-per-view star.
He does have the superstar vibe going on, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know if it was on Embedded, but because I actually haven't watched Embedded yet, but I seen a little short clip of him getting onto the airplane, and he's in like his fucking basically like this like it's like a Versace fucking bathrobe, but it's not the one that he was wearing.
And he just turns around and
and does the salute. Yeah.
Thanks, man. What do you think of the BMF belt not being on the line?
Unfair for Usman.
You think?
No. Joking. It was supposed to be a one-time thing.
Yeah.
So I get it. Like to be honest, I wouldn't have liked to see it being defended often. Like if they wanted to do the rematch with Nate because it was a little bit controversial, although you can argue how controversial that was, then fair enough, do it again for the BMF belt. But I think though, if for example McGregor comes back into the situation, because I think clearly you could see the path for that to happen. If Jorge Masvidal goes out there and wins, calls out McGregor, or McGregor says something on Twitter as he normally does, although he didn't do it last time, which is funny, I clearly see a path for that fight happening, because for McGregor, obviously he seemed that he was interested in Masvidal at some point anyway, and now with Masvidal as the BMF belt, and he'd somehow get that on the line, even though they said they're not going to defend it again.
I'm not sure Masvidal would let that be on the line.
I don't know, maybe not. But anyway, he'll be the champ. He'll be the divisional champ anyway, and McGregor would love to get that belt because it would be the third belt. So yeah, I could see that. I could see that catching a lot of steam, gaining a lot of steam very quickly.
Yeah. Or the UFC will pushing it to try again with his team.
Oh yeah, 100%.
DC made a point on his thing with Ariel yesterday. He's like, that BMF, if you're doing it, it's reserved for special characters.
Yeah,
I think he's right. Like it's Nate, Jorge, one or two other guys in the whole of the UFC maybe.
Yeah, you wonder who. Let us know in the comments who you think would be worthy of the BMF belt.
That's a whole other discussion. We're getting sidetracked.
Yeah, but let us know, because I'm interested to know what people think of that. But yeah, it's a really good fight. I
how does it go, Rob?
Like on paper, I want to say Usman, but I just have that feeling. I have that feeling that Jorge Masvidal's going to get it done. I really do. And it'll be exciting as well. Like, it's hard not to root for him. It's hard not to root for that situation to happen, because, like, what's more exciting? Jorge Masvidal, like, waking up, say if you watch it live, but if you wake up and Jorge Masvidal is the new welterweight champion and he is out talking all kinds of nonsense, and nonsense in the good kind of way, or Kamaru Usman winning, and a lot of people are kind of expecting that to happen.
Yeah.
Like, which one is a more exciting situation? It's the Masvidal one, and I'd like to live in a world where that happened.
Yeah, it would be great. I can't wait to see his suit afterwards if he wins.
Oh Jesus!
He's been rocking up in them Scarface suits, and they've been amazing, man. Or he might just rock up in the robe. Who knows?
Who knows? Why not?
Does what he wants, doesn't he? BMF
does what he wants. So, official pick. Yeah. I'm gonna pick Masvidal. Why not? The circumstances are there. Let's do it.
I'm gonna have a punt on him too. He's a big price, man.
And the thing is, it's not like he's a bad fighter or anything like that. Like, I think a lot, as someone said there, I don't know why people are counting him out. It does seem like a lot of people are counting him out outright without even considering his skills, and the skills are there. I just, stylistically, it's a tough matchup for him. I don't think that means he can't overcome it. Ben Askren, in theory, was a stylistic nightmare for him. Yeah. And we've seen Usman get hit quite a lot against Colby Covington. If Colby Covington can stand with you and land a lot of shots on you, Jorge Masvidal can do the same. It's just, will he get that opportunity? Will it stay on the feet? Way slicker, bigger puncher, all that. So yeah, I'm going to go with Masvidal. I think, Sean, you said you're going with Masvidal too, right?
Yeah, I'll take Masvidal as well for the same reasons you outlined. It's just a little excitement feelings, putting like all kind of logic and stuff aside. Not all logic, as in,
yeah.
Not that like he can't win the fight, but yeah, I'm going to go with my heart here and say Jorge Masvidal.
Nice.
At
Um,
94 is his price as well, so I'll be taking that.
yeah, Not Never said that he thinks that Usman's getting overconfident in his striking. I seen somebody say that. I can't remember who it was, but somebody said they were watching an interview with Usman and he was getting a little bit defensive when they were talking about him being a lesser striker than a lot of these welterweights, and it would make you wonder, will he just stand to try to prove a point? I don't know if that's in his character, but
Yeah, I think maybe if he'd a full camp behind him and like he had full preparation for this, it's hard to see that on 6 days' notice.
yeah,
It's not something you would advise your fighter on 6 days' notice to do.
no. Just make sure you like the video as well, because it really does help us out, and there's more people in the chat than there is likes, so why not hit that like button, and let's get into some of these other fights and this fight as well. One thing, Boom Boom Kyle mentioned that Masvidal has some kind of video series on Vimeo, 6 episodes. Might check that out. I did
What is
like
that, yeah.
Yeah, let us know what it is. I did like his old video series, which was I think free a couple of years ago. It was very, very good, and I assume it's the same guy because it's the guy that runs his YouTube channel. I think it's Genghis Khan videos or something like that, or Genghis videos. But yeah, Dave Little. Oh, there's Dave. How's it going, Dave? What time does the card start in Ireland? Usual time, innit?
Standard times, I think, yeah. So 3 a.m. mid card. Yeah.
You think they would have just like at least done the hour?
Pissed me off, man. They couldn't even give us an hour in Europe. Like
Yeah.
It's a disaster for the fighters as well. Like the main event will be at 8:30 in the morning in Abu Dhabi. It's insane.
Yeah.
Just for the fucking Americans.
That Paige Van Zandt reaction was hilarious when she got told. She's like, "What?" When she got told by Ariel that she was fighting at like whatever time in the morning. She was
You'll
like,
be at
"What?"
like 6 a.m.
It's insane. Let's see what our questions. Let me go to the community tab because I don't want to miss these because sometimes I fucking do. Let me do it. First one. If Masvidal scores the win, this is from Tom Broom Jones. If Masvidal scores the win, is it safe to say he's had the greatest career surgeons in MMA history? That is a good question. That is a very, very good question.
I think so. Who else are you looking at there, really?
So, let me have a look at his record here. I don't know if I'd say it's the greatest career resurgence because I don't think there was ever a point where he was down and out. Like there was never a point where I felt, geez, Jorge Masvidal probably should retire. He can't really compete at this level. And I think there's some other examples where we've seen fighters who got really close to that point where you're like, geez, man, this guy just doesn't have it anymore. Masvidal lost some close fights, and plus he never really got to the top. If you get me, like it wasn't like he got to the top and it sank really low and then got back to the top.
It kind of just seemed like he plateaued a bit.
Yeah, it seemed like he plateaued it, and he lost a few very close decisions. And I'm not taking anything away from the resurgence because it's definitely a resurgence, but I just think it's like a late career surge rather than a resurgence, if that makes sense. But like someone like, for me, Mark Hunt, who, let me check his record because he had an awful run. So Mark Hunt came from kickboxing, fought in Pride, and he went on a pretty damn good run when you look at the guys he was fighting. So when he came to MMA, he lost his first fight to Yoshida, of course, but then went 5-1, and he beat Krokop, Vanderlei Silva. Vanderlei obviously undersized, but beat some good guys there. And then went on a 6-fight losing streak, including his UFC debut against Sean McCorkle. Sean McCorkle, like nobody talks about Sean McCorkle these days because he had one win in the UFC and it was against Mark Hunt. And then Mark Hunt went on and he won 4 in a row and then almost got a title fight. It's a little bit different because he didn't win the title, but he was completely down and out. Like after that Sean McCorkle fight, you're like, Mark Hunt should retire right now, and then he had a complete turnaround. So I think someone like that for me had a better resurgence. But yeah,
that's fair.
Doug Lewis said, "You guys are amazing. Thank you." Jeez, Sean, we're amazing. Unbelievable stuff. Big up Jorge with some kind of knee to the face. Imagine another flying knee after a quick takedown attempt.
I mean, if Marty's shooting, if Usman is shooting takedowns, knees there.
It is there. Mitch C asked, this one is for you, Sean. How much money is Sean putting on Masvidal at 2-1?
9-4, man, an even bigger price.
Holy moly.
I'll probably have a score on him.
Yeah. In Irish talk, that means 20 quid.
Yeah,
or 20 pounds. Euro.
No, we're not fucking cans here, Rob.
Punt. 20 punt.
Yeah, I have a treble in my head that I will go through at the end, and then once we finish talking about the card, I'll have it. So
cool.
But yeah, I'll probably single Masvidal as well.
Yeah. Not never XX. You lads getting the Now TV pass for the day. That's how I'm watching. How are you watching, Sean?
Now TV, man. Bought the BT Sports pass at the start of, not at the start of lockdown, but when football started coming back, because Bundesliga was first back. BT have the rights for that. Bought that, and then when Premier League came back, I just bought the Sky one as well, which annoyed me because I have to pay more money for it now. But yeah, I'm living at home. I have no other expenses. It costs me €40 a month, and I get all the football, all Premier Leagues, La Liga, Bundesliga, Serie A, and UFC, and boxing as well, like for 40 quid a month. So it's all right.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I think
no
I
issues
have
with like quality or like jittery or buffering or anything like that. So it's grand. I can't complain.
Yeah, I have access to somebody's Sky Go, I think. So use that.
I actually, just on that, not never. I wouldn't actually recommend the day pass, because the day pass is like a tenner for the day, and like the month is like 17 quid or something for BT. You may as well get the month while you're at it, and you get some of the football as well.
If you're into it, I guess.
Yeah, if you're into the football and you're that, you can get the monthly pass.
Yeah. Tonic Moss didn't ask, but said that I'm from Dubai. That's sadly every card for us here, 6 to 7 a.m. start. You know,
I'd rather that.
On a Sunday, I wouldn't mind that, because I wouldn't mind just getting up early and watching it.
Yeah, because I'm not having that. Not having that complaint. We're up until then. And then
we're going to bed then. Yeah,
we're going to bed then. That's worse, man. I could do it getting up at 6 or 7 a.m. That's fine. I used to get up at 10 to 7 in the morning for when I was going to work, commuting to work. Like, that's fine. We don't engine tonic, Moss, yeah.
Liam Rushworth, thoughts on Masvidal saying he'll give Wonderboy and Nate a shot at the title if he wins. Wonderboy, I don't mind. Nate, like, he shouldn't be getting a shot at a world title, to be fair. But you know, these guys think differently.
Last 2 fights, like.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's not Masvidal who's going to be choosing his fight. It's going to be the UFC for the most part.
I get why Masvidal said it. He wanted to run it back with 2 things. He said he promised Nate the shot. Fair enough. And then he lost to Wonderboy, so he wants to run it back, which is fair enough.
Yeah. Mitch C earlier said Usman is a great fighter and seems to be a good guy, but he's got all the personality of a toaster.
Yeah, this is it, like. Very vanilla.
Yeah, very. Ethan Roy, Schaub getting coronavirus. That's it. That's the question. That's what he said.
Man, like, go through
go for a bike ride.
Go through the man's Twitter feed, and it's everything that's wrong with America. He's a moron.
He is a moron.
Fucking moron. And he's a platform to just spread stupidity, like.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Pete Carroll mentioned something funny. It was like, remember everybody went to watch him somewhere, wherever he done. I think he'd done the Sugar Club or something over here, a comedy show. And he was like, everyone was like reacting like he was Richard Pryor or something. It's like, Jesus, yeah, I remember that. That was insane.
Yeah. His comedy is so shit as well.
Yeah. Zneb Rem from the community tab, can we please be straight up and admit that we're all more excited for Jorge than the Burns fight, and if Jorge wins, we'd rather see him fight Colby than Burns? Well,
yeah,
probably. Well, the first part, yeah, I think it goes without saying. It's definitely a more intriguing fight.
Jorge and Colby.
Yeah, Colby, get out there and win one fight just so you're eligible. Not that you're not eligible without winning a fight, because you know this is the UFC. Yeah, go fight Leon. Yeah, do that fight, and then
Leon Edwards only gets really fucked in all this, because he's further down for a title shot. Like,
he's just lost in this shuffle.
Yeah,
so bad.
So tough for him,
man. But yeah, it's way more exciting. I'll say Apparently in his new series, Masvidal's new series from Boom Boom Coils, he said that he's been training, and you see some of the training he's doing, about 10 minutes of wrestling footage with Bo Nickel. Yeah, very good.
Bo Nickel, the DC was talking about him on the him and Ariel show. Apparently, like one of the best prospects in wrestling.
Yeah,
college wrestling at the minute. Yeah.
Do you know what's crazy? And I think most people know this, but Masvidal is a huge wrestling fan. And it's kind of weird to see or weird to know, because that's not his style. But he said, for the most part, one of the reasons why he joined MMA, checked out MMA, is because he loved wrestling. He does a lot of wrestling. He just doesn't excel there. You know, he's not naturally that type of fighter. Throws hands and feet and all that kind of shtick. But
3-piece and sodas.
Yeah, but yeah, he loves wrestling. So I say he's loving that, wrestling with such a big prospect.
He's gonna be in his corner as well, I think.
Yeah, he is gonna be in his corner. That's cool.
Yeah.
Boom Boom Coil says Masvidal and Adesanya are on the front cover for the UFC 4 and PS5. You see all the behind the scenes for it. Oh, that's cool.
That's a cool cover. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Tonic Moss. Here, Sean. Here's the deal. They work on a Sunday. Work week is Sunday to Thursday. Muslim country. So that does change things on the 6 a.m. thing.
That does change things. Yeah, that does change things.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think now. So their days off are Friday and Saturday.
Well, that's kind of awful then, isn't it? Because you're in work. Although you could watch it then when you get home from work, but still, that's not great.
It's very different to what we have.
Yeah, that's a spanner in the works. It's an argument to be made there now.
Yeah, I retract my previous statement.
Let's talk about another fight on the card. It's not the co-main event, is it? Let me just get the card up. Co-main event is Volko, is it?
Alex and Max, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that just yet, but I do want to talk about that because that is intriguing as F. But there was a question about the Peter Yan fight. It was from Dave Little in the community tab. If Jose Aldo loses this weekend, should he retire? I have been hearing a lot of talk about retirement for Jose Aldo, win and lose. But what's your thoughts on that one, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, there kind of was a stage where we were wondering, where does he go? He went to Bantam. Yeah, I mean, at what point do you, if you lose now, like, what are you carrying on for? If you lose now, you're a right bit away from a title shot, realistically. Even if he wins, it'd be quite cool to go out on that. It'd be really cool to go out on that. At what point, like, you don't need to see, he's getting old now as well. You don't need to see him take any more damage. I'm not saying he should. I don't know. That's for him to decide. But it would be pretty cool to see him go out if he on a win here.
Yeah, I think he could if he wants. He's still young. He's 33 years old. But in fighting years, he's quite old. He's had a long career. Yeah, he's had 35 fights, something like that, 34 fights. And he's had some really tough ones as well. The only thing I will say is that if his fight, if he loses, say, for example, and it's very, very close, like the Marlon Moraes fight, and I know we talk about that fight and we say, man, why is Jose Aldo getting this fight? That one was close. Let's be honest, it was close. Still don't agree that he's getting a fight coming off a loss, but it was close. But if he looks like that and looks good, I can see why he wants to go on, and especially if he takes some shots and he doesn't, get dropped by such a big puncher and stuff. So, I don't necessarily say he should retire, but I wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't be too upset about it. But I think he has something left in the tank. We'll see what happens on Saturday.
I'm sure he obviously still feels as if he's good to go. So,
yeah. But speaking of that fight, let's talk about it a little bit and put your questions, any questions regarding this fight in the live chat as well, because it's an interesting one. We talked about how Jose Aldo probably shouldn't be getting this. It's not really the right fight to make. There's plenty of bantamweights out there, but he has it, and it's happening. So let's talk about it. Do you see Jose Aldo becoming the new 135-pound champion, or do you see Peter Yan being too much for him?
It's Peter Yan here for me, I think.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Peter Yan for you.
Yeah, it's Peter Yan for me. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think Aldo has the tools to trouble Yan, but I think Yan is just an animal for me.
Yeah. I agree. My official pick will be Peter Yan, so write that down now. But
I don't want to have a punt on Aldo at the price as well. Like,
Yeah, what's the price?
2-1, man.
Jeez, man. See, I like that.
Big price.
You know what? I like all three underdogs on this card. I'll just say that. I don't know if I'm
did
necessarily
think about
picking them
that,
all,
yeah.
but I'm liking them all. So I wonder what that treble is. If you can, I don't know if you can get that somewhere for me just to see, because if it's nice, I might have to throw something on it. But anyway, the thing about Peter Yan, we talked about this last week, I believe, is that while he has had some good fights, some tough competition. Dodson is no easy fight. Jimmy Rivera is no easy fight, and even Uriah Faber at his age and coming out of retirement and all that jazz, not an easy fight. He's looked really good in all those, but he has shown some bits and pieces that could be capitalised on by the right guy. And I think Jose Aldo,
at the level of Aldo as well.
Jose Aldo is a different guy. He's a different level, and let's be honest, he looked good at 135. He didn't look great on the scale, but he looked good at 135 in the cage, or whatever, 145, 150, whatever he was in the cage. So I'm not putting it past him for this. I'll pick Peter Yan, but the problem with it is that I still feel like we have a lot to learn with Peter Yan, and maybe we'll learn that he's even better than we expected, but there's still some questions there, and Jose Aldo might be the guy to expose them. You never know.
Yeah, so do you want that? I'll make it a fourfold, because I'm going to stick Rose in there. I think Rose is the lock of the night for me.
What's the treble though? Well, I just want to know the three underdogs is.
The treble on Masvidal, Max, and Aldo is 25-1.
Jeez, man, I like that.
Yeah,
that's not bad. That isn't bad.
Price.
Yeah, and then throw Rose in. Probably not too much more, is it?
Throw Rose and you get 40-1.
Wow. Is Rose an underdog?
No.
Yeah,
but it's just
cumulative. Yeah, it's cumulative, it's grand. But yeah, I was wondering. Underground Rhino, who has Yan really fought? Yeah, we kind of mentioned some of the names he fought, but there is a question over the level of competition. There really is.
Yeah.
And if you watch, I remember watching the Jimmy Rivera fight. Rivera had some moments. He had some moments. Uriah Faber even had a few moments. I think sometimes Yan can be a little bit of a slow starter, so there is that.
Fight as well. It'd be interesting to see.
I'm not putting it past Jose Aldo. I'm not putting it past him. Yeah.
I think Mark Fleming was tweeting me during the week, and we were talking. I think I said it as well. I think I'll probably pick Yan, but I'll probably have a go at Aldo at the prices.
Fair enough. Let me go back into this. Do I have any community tab questions on these fights? Not there, and not there. But yeah, I think we're both picking Peter Yan, but with an asterisk there that we'd probably throw a little bit of money on Jose Aldo, possibly. But yeah, you never know. Who's next for the winner of this? Assuming it's not a draw or something and they redo it. Aljo.
It's Aljo, man.
Yeah, probably. But it's probably going to be Cody.
Yeah, it's probably going to be whoever the UFC fucking want at the time.
Whoever's ready, pretty much. Maybe it'll be Uriah Faber. How strange would it be? Not strange. How trippy and weird and whatever would it be if on the same night Jose Aldo wins the 135 pound and then Max Holloway regains the 145 pound, and they have like the two greatest featherweights of all time, two champions, two different weight classes. That's wild.
Yeah.
But speaking of that fight, let's talk about it. The co-main event is Max Holloway versus Alexander Volkanovski. It's a rematch, an immediate rematch from their fight a few months ago. I think it's 6 months ago. And a lot of people are picking Volkanovski, I find. Like that's the consensus, and it's understandable. He won the first one. But Sean, how are you leaning on this one? And then we'll talk about the specifics.
I rewatched this one during the week.
Did you?
Yeah.
How? Yeah.
The score, I didn't make a mad effort to score because I had already looked at the scorecards for the last fight, and it's hard to score fights when you know how that fight. Do you know what I mean? There's that bias there. Like, you kind of tell yourself what you think you should see. So I think Volkanovski was a fair winner there. Max came on strong, but never really at any point at the end. Never really at any point did I feel like Max was genuinely looking like winning the fight. I don't know how you felt.
Yeah, I rewatched it as well, and stupidly I didn't really score it, even though that was the whole point of me rewatching it. But I wanted to see like how they matched up and stuff. But some of the rounds were closer than I remember. Like even the first round, I thought I gave it to Volkanovski, but I thought Max done some okay stuff. The thing that scares me a little bit is Max Holloway's camp. You heard he talked about he hasn't seen he's doing like Zoom training sessions and all this.
I don't know if I believe
it. Yeah, I don't know if I believe it either. He might just be saying that stuff. But it seems like Volkanovski's had a good camp. But I don't know. Like Volkanovski's a weird fighter, and he does a lot of things that I probably just don't see. But he makes it tricky for a lot of fighters, and I'm not quite sure why. Like I could see what he's doing, and he's fighting a good fight, but like Luke Thomas, I know, talks very highly of him and talks about how he's adapted a similar game, like that Adesanya does when he's being very evasive. But I see where
a lot of stuff that I don't think he has any intention of landing, but just to like
a lot of feints,
be awkward and annoying and frustrating.
Yeah, there's a lot of feints there. But I did see when I was watching that fight, I never thought Max Holloway was out of there, and I just thought like if he maybe incorporated some more kicks, which he generally doesn't do, so that's a problem. But if he did, and even if he just landed some of them shots that he was coming a little bit short on, or he just was missing the timing on, then he probably could have won that fight. Because honestly, there was a few strikes between them in some of them rounds. Like I thought Volkanovski controlled it for the most part, but
Max had moments as well.
He had some moments. He just didn't look there that night. But I've seen Max Holloway look there on so many nights and looked so good on so many nights that it's difficult to count him out. So I don't know. It's a really close one. I want to get into some of the questions as well, but
really struggling on this fight to make a solid pick, to be honest.
Keenan KTV's in the chat. What's up, man? Keep up the good work. He has a YouTube channel. Check him out. Yeah, talking about Jose Aldo there. He's not fight young and stuff. Yeah, that's true. Mark Fleming, what's your thoughts on Max not sparring for the Volkanovski rematch? Yeah, we kind of...
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
I don't quite believe it either. But also, is it really that bad? Like, I think what is bad is if he hasn't really worked with his coaches. That would be bad. But Max Holloway has a lot of fights, and, you know, a lot of fighters don't spar these days, or at least they limit their sparring, so...
Everybody doesn't.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's the biggest deal, but I'd imagine they have rewatched a lot of tape on Volkanovski and tried to figure out what the problem was there. And as I said, I think Max Holloway has shown so many good performances in his career that I can see where he can make some adjustments. Like, I really can. I just don't quite know what they're going to be. But, you know, Max Holloway is best when he can figure out his opponent. Maybe it just took a little bit longer for him to figure out Volkanovski. Maybe we'll see everything that he learned in those first 5 rounds, and then an additional camp to see what goes down. But yeah,
Eugene Bellman did a really interesting interview with Submission Radio. I was watching some of their stuff because they had Rob Whittaker on and Dan Hooker as well. All good interviews. But yeah, they're so interesting. These I know he's not necessarily city kickboxing, but yeah, Eugene said that Max is going to have to make fundamental changes to his game, which is hard for someone his age to do. And he's not long in the tooth, but he's in the game a while, and it's hard for someone at that stage of their career to make fundamental adjustments. Yeah. And that both guys are essentially going to come in. Like Max is obviously going to make changes, and so Max making changes means Volkanovski has to make changes as well. Yeah. So it's interesting. Yeah. I'm really struggling for this fight.
Yeah. It's a really tough fight, and like a big problem, and I know it's not the biggest kind of takeaway from the fight. Like, it's kind of the superficial takeaway from the last fight were the leg kicks, because Volkanovski did land an awful lot, and he did hurt him with a few of them. I think some of them were just not rangefinders, but kind of what we were talking about. He was just landing them just to land them, and
he busted up that calf as well.
He did, but I think with Max Holloway, he does have that really, really upright boxing style. That those are some of the fundamental changes that Eugene Berman was probably talking about, that Max Holloway would have to maybe adapt that style to fight in a different way, because those legs are just there, and you can get really good at checking leg kicks. But if you're in that upright boxing stance, you're not going to get as good as you could be in different types of stances. So that's probably one of the things.
I think making more use of the leg kicks for Max will be a good way of. I know Volkanovski has a range advantage on him, but it's kind of an ineffective range advantage because Max is longer.
Yeah.
So I think using the kicks to maybe keep him at the distance that he wants could be a good way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really tough one.
But
I like the fight. My pick is.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm gonna go with Volkanovski. I'm not really confident in it. But I'll go with Volkanovski. Follow me on Twitter. I'll make an official pick on Friday. I need to think about this one a bit more. But what's your pick?
For me, I don't know. I'm struggling with this one. I get the sense that a lot of these city kickboxing guys that they're just kind of playing with you a lot of the time. And we don't necessarily see 100% from them in all fights or everything in their toolbox. I'm probably going to pick Volkanovski as well, but at the prices, I might have I don't know. I might stay away from this fight, but at the prices, I might have a poke on Max. If Max was to drift out a bit, I might have a poke there at the prices.
Yeah.
But tough fight to pick, man.
Yeah. Keenan with 2 comments. One about Streamlabs for PayPal donations. I never even heard of that. YouTube super chats get 30% of cut. We don't get that many super chats, to be fair, Sean. So if they start jumping up, maybe we'll think about it.
If anyone wants to buy me a Lucozade, you know.
Yeah, Sean loves a Lucozade. But good point on the actual fight. Volkan fights longer than Holloway, plus movement equals another shutdown performance. And that was a big feature of the first fight. Fights very long, Volkanovski. Max Holloway fights long if you're a boxer. Fights quite long if you're a boxer, but we're not playing boxing at the moment.
In MMA,
yeah.
Open,
it's been a problem.
They have to be chopped down.
Yeah, it's been a problem. He believes it's not something that Max can do, so we'll see. I'm still open to a Max Holloway win, but I'm not picking him. As I said, I'm picking.
We love Max,
yeah. Yeah. You gotta love Max Holloway. There's talk about the debut. Is that on this card? The jury debut.
Max is actually just last point about that fight. Max has actually drifted out in price since that news came out about his camp. Since he said that, it's quite funny. Yeah. He's just backing himself, I'd say, at the bigger price.
Yeah. There was talk there, a question there from Dave Little about anyone on the undercard we should be keeping an eye on. And people have answered the question for us in the live chat, and it's someone who I've been talking about for quite a while. It's Prochaska, the Resurgence champion who has moved over to the UFC. He's the main event of the preliminary card. He fights against Volkan Ozdemir. Definitely a guy you should keep an eye out for, especially because he fights at light heavyweight, and light heavyweight is lacking contenders. A bit dead.
An underdog as well, man.
He's an underdog.
Yeah.
Huh. Much?
5-4.
Jeez, man. Do you know what? I might stick him on that on that trio. Good fighter. He's definitely one to look at. Also on the undercard as well, Muslim Salikov, really good fighter, but he's fighting Dos Santos in the co-headliner. Another good fighter. Danny Henry, I've had a lot of time for Danny Henry. Good fighter.
We've had Danny on before.
Has a lot of power in his hands. He's a guy to watch. So I'd say those. I think that undercard, those 3 fights in that undercard against Makran Amikani against Danny Henry, Dos Santos against Salikov, and Ozdemir against Prochaska.
Those 3 leading into the main card are pretty good. They're pretty solid.
Yeah, they're pretty solid. And then, of course, unbelievable main event. The fight we haven't really talked about on that main card, or 2 fights, but the kind of main one that people are talking about is the Rose Namajunas and Jessica Andrade fight. Fought before, of course. Title fight last time. Rose was the champ. Andrade won the title from her. Very short-lived run for Andrade with the title. And also a very one-sided fight, that fight, but was actually one-sided for Namajunas until the very end, until Andrade got that slam. So how are you seeing this fight going, and how do you think these match up for the second bout?
I picked Rose the first time. I think Rose again for me here. It was a flash knockout, really.
Pretty much, yeah.
Not to discredit Jessica Andrade too much, but yeah, it's Rose here for me. I think she's just a better fighter.
Yeah, I feel the exact same. I thought she fought very, very well in that first fight.
Really good, really smart.
Yeah, really smart. Made that little mistake looking for the Kimura on the body lock, and then we saw what happened. Sometimes that can work.
Andrade had lifted her once or twice before that as well, and she defended it intelligently, and didn't get fucking jammed on her neck again.
Yeah, and all credit to Andrade for making that very, very good adjustment. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like Rose will win this one. One thing I did notice, and let me know in the comments if you've seen this or if you've seen news on this, but it looks like she's not working with Trevor Whitman for this fight.
Yeah, I was going to comment on that. I didn't see play the Trevor around.
Yeah, so on Embedded, she's working with Greg Nelson, who of course famously trained Brock Lesnar for his MMA career, and she obviously met Greg Nelson through Pat Berry, because Pat Berry was a sparring partner for Brock Lesnar. So it looks like she's not working with Trevor Whitman. Possibly it's because of the whole coronavirus thing. Maybe they couldn't really get something done. Hopefully they haven't fallen out, because I think Trevor Whitman has done an amazing job with Rose Namajunas, like he's done an amazing job with Justin Gaethje.
Really interesting guy as well. It's well worth checking out his podcast with Justin on Joe Rogan.
Oh, very interesting. Yeah. I didn't realize all that stuff that happened with him and Nate Marquardt, where Nate, of course, was on TRT, and then he got suspended, and then when Trevor Whitman came out to defend him, he also said that, well, yeah, I don't agree with TRT use, but it is legal, and my guy should not be a pariah for something that's legal. He'd done everything that he could, and then there was a whole bust up, and Nate Marquardt left, and then all his fighters left, and he was left with basically no fighters apart from a few kind of upstarts and Justin Gaethje and Rose and stuff like that. So very interesting story. But also he loves MMA equipment so much. I love when he was showing Joe Rogan all the stuff. And he was like a kid in a candy store. Look at this one. Look at this one. Look at this one.
Yeah, he's very infectious kind of personality.
Yeah. Zneb Ram said, MMA media say that it'd be a travesty if Burns doesn't get a next title shot, but realistically, he beat Woodley, who hasn't performed well in years, and fast track past Chiesa, Wonderboy, Colby, Jorge, and Edwards. Yeah, I don't think it'd be a travesty if he didn't get the next shot.
No,
he's definitely up there, but I don't think it'd be a travesty.
Yeah, if the pandemic didn't hit, we would have been seeing Masvidal and Usman was
the fight,
and then and then they couldn't make that. Short notice, you get Masvidal.
Yeah.
You get Burns, sorry.
Yeah, Burns. John say, how much does Sean recommend putting on Page at plus 525?
Nothing. Yeah, no, stay away from that.
Do you know what?
It's a big price.
Is the fight. This is the fight to me that everyone is so confident in. Everyone's so confident in Amanda Ribas to win this fight. And I get it. I concur. I think she will win the fight, but there hasn't been a fight in a while. Well, I probably shouldn't say that, but this one in particular just stands out to me that I haven't seen anybody pick Paige Van Zandt here. Nobody.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I'd stay away from this one if I was.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's women's MMA as well. Amanda Ribas has looked really good, but anything can happen in women's MMA.
Paige on the last fight of a contract, So.
Yeah.
Needs a performance.
She does need a performance.
Sounds like she doesn't want to go back to the UFC. She'll probably go fight. Her husband's in Bellator, isn't he?
It kind of makes sense for her, doesn't it? Sponsorship wise, and to be honest, again, Luke Thomas mentioned this. He said that obviously the UFC is the biggest promotion in the world, and if you want to be the best fighter in the world and get all these accolades, you fight there. But for some fighters who perhaps make more money on endorsements, maybe Bellator is a better option. You're way more open and free to work with sponsorships and stuff.
Said she made more money for Dancing with the Stars than she did in her whole entire UFC career.
Well,
there you go.
Keena TV said we should have each other on our live show sometime. Yeah, let's make it work, man. Why not? It'll be fun.
Let's do
it. Not Never XX said, totally agree. I think Colby versus Leon Edwards title eliminator. Yeah.
I like it.
We'll go for another 10, 15 minutes. So make sure you get your questions in so we don't miss them. Let me just check the live chat, not live chat, the community tab, so I didn't miss anything. Here's an interesting one. Kind of a, I'll say it and then we can talk about it. Liam Rushworth asked, rank the fighters in the top 3 fights in terms of ability. So I assume you mean fighter, like fighting ability. So the fighters in the top 3 in terms of ability. That's an interesting question. So let's have a look at this card. Okay. In terms of ability, we'll start with number... Okay. The bottom of the barrel.
Bottom? Yeah.
Wow. This is very tough.
I think you probably have to put Yan there just because we know the least about him. And that's not to discredit what his current ability or where he might go to, but he's probably the one we know the least about.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, I'll go with Peter Yan as well. That could change on the weekend.
That could totally change, but the other guys just have much. Actually, Usman doesn't even have that many more fights, but the other guys just have a lot more fights that we know a lot more about them.
Yeah, we have way more data to make an accurate prediction on that one. So I'll go Peter. Yeah, I'll go next one. And man,
tough, isn't it?
It's tough because like it's hard to put a champion there, so it's hard to like say Volkanovski, Usman, they're two champions, you know. But in terms of like overall ability and everything, jeez, man, do you go like Masvidal? He's so skilled. This is the toughest question ever.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or do you go Usman? I don't know. This is very, very tough. I'm gonna go.
I think you might go Usman, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Usman. Reasons being, you know, obviously not too many fights. Champion, but I think he has a good style against the guys he's fought. So in certain situations, wrestling wise, amazing. But overall skill set, if you're gonna go like on paper, I think he's lacking a little bit in the striking there. Jeez, this is very tough. We'll go Usman. Can't believe you're putting a champion under a couple of contenders here, but it is what it is. Jeez, next up, Sean. How are you thinking?
So who we left with? Aldo, Volkanovski, Holloway, and Masvidal. Jeez. Ability. Masvidal.
Perhaps.
Masvidal or Volkanovski, I think. I don't know. Wow. Maybe Matt.
This is very tough.
So just
name them all. So is Jose Aldo your number one? Because he's the only one that you didn't mention.
Probably, yeah. I think Jose is my number one, yeah.
Most skilled. Interesting. Okay, this is very tough. Let's just do it. All right, we're going to go... this is the official picks, right? We're going to go Peter Yan. Who did we say? Kamaru Usman. Masvidal. Max Volkanovski. Aldo? I don't know.
You have to go Max because Volkanovski beat
Max, like. I know. Yeah, Max Volkanovski, Aldo. I don't know. Makes no sense. We made no sense on that one.
Horrible making that.
Yeah, I know. That was the. Don't ask them questions ever again, for fuck's sake.
You can pick your number one though, without the rest. Who's your number one?
Number one, I think Jose Aldo. For me, I think Jose Aldo number one. I
agree.
He's probably lacking a little bit in terms of, you know, competitive edge at this point in his career.
Yeah.
Because of all the fights, but skill wise, he's so fucking talented. Questions here. Let me see. I think we missed some up the top. Jorge or Usman. We both picked. So we talked about this earlier. We both picked Masvidal. Because of the short notice. He's obviously very skilled.
I would pick our hearts as well.
Yeah, a little bit of our hearts, but yeah. Keenan TV asked who's the person behind the graphics overlays on the screen. Franklin. That's this guy over here.
This man, yeah. I just pointed there, but I'm not sure I was actually going to point.
I think you pointed at the opposite way. I'm not sure.
I have to go that way. Yeah.
Okay. That's hilarious. Yeah, so UFC 4 gets revealed on Saturday too. Were you a big UFC player on the
No,
PlayStation
I
or
never
anything
really
like that?
played a couple of the early games. Played a couple of the old what were the old boxing games called? Was it
Oh,
Fight
Fight Night.
Corner or
Fight
Fight
Night.
Night? They were good.
Jesus, Sean.
Played a couple of them.
Definitely not a
Um,
gamer.
no, I'm not really a massive gamer.
Yeah.
So if it comes out on the Switch, I might buy it.
Yeah. I'm actually not bad at it. I don't play it a whole lot, but I'm not bad at UFC 3.
I'm not bad till you play someone who's really good.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I'm good against the computer, against the CPU. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the new game. I'm interested to see what they do with it. I'm interested. Like the thing about Fight Night in particular, I think it was Fight Night Champion. Unbelievable story mode, because it was like a proper story mode. Like it was like they had like cutscenes and shit. Whereas the UFC game doesn't really have that.
Impacted the stories as well.
Yeah, which I loved. But with the UFC game, it's kind of, your bog standard. You have a fight, and then you have a screen where you do all your training, and it is what it is. It's fun, but it is what it is. So I'm interested to see if they do something different. I used to be a huge gamer. Keenan KTV said he's a huge gamer. But I used to be a huge gamer, not so much anymore, just because I don't really have the time. But
he's an adult now, like responsibilities and stuff.
I know, it's unfortunate though. Yeah, I want to make sure we didn't miss any questions. We go for another 5 minutes. Was there anything else you want to touch on as well, Sean, before, so we don't miss it?
Just hope everyone knows Brendan Schaub's a moron, really.
Why is that, Sean?
Just go look at his Twitter, and self-explanatory. Yeah. Spreading his stupidity,
It's hilarious. Did you see the Dana White video as well, where he was like, "You thought I was red before? Look at me now," and it's him like on Yaz Island, and he's just sunburned to fuck.
His big bald head.
Did you see actually as well? Just to bring it up. Obviously, Habib's dad passed away, so rest in peace.
Very sad.
Jeez, man, that's very, very sad. But Cormier was talking about how he doesn't know what Habib's next move is going to be in terms of like, is he going to continue to fight or anything like that? And I'm sure it's a horrible time for Habib right now, so he doesn't want to answer those kind of questions. But it does make you wonder what he's going to do, because if you remember when he got injured on one of the times he was supposed to fight Tony Ferguson, his dad had to tell him not to retire. He was really considering retirement because of it. He was like really down, and his dad was like, you have too much to fight for. You still need to do this and this. But now, without the backing of his basically his life coach, like that's who his coach has been for his whole life, what will he do? Who knows? You never know what's going to happen now with Habib. But hopefully
it's definitely something that's going to be interesting to see going forward, because his dad was such a big influence on his whole life, really. Especially, it's in Dagestan, really, that this. I think we spoke about this before. They all still live with their parents, at this age. So
yeah, it's very sad. Hopefully, he continues to fight, because
we hope so.
Yeah, you wouldn't want it to end like that. He definitely has a few more fights in him. Really hope the career mode is a lot better from Not Never. I agree.
That would be a big improvement.
Yeah.
Is it still EA Sports making it?
Yeah. Just a quick one as well. I see there's a few people in the chat. Get a couple more questions before we leave. We're going to go in like less than 5 minutes, but also make sure you like the video, because that really helps us out. So before this video ends, make sure you just hit that like button. And yeah, we need to do more on this channel as well, Sean. We obviously do a live chat every week on Tuesdays, but we need to do a little bit more. We'll see what we can do. As Sean said, so many responsibilities. It's just hard to find time.
I'm in football, really. I'm just watching football and arting around. You
are gonna stay up for the fight card this weekend, yeah?
Yeah. You can.
Yeah, me too. John C.
said, I've actually kind of got used to doing. I used to watch these fights with my mates and stuff, but I kind of like watching on my own now. I actually watch the fights that way.
I know, yeah. Sometimes you watch with your friends, you're chatting away, and you don't actually see half of it.
Kind of half watching.
Yeah, I do like to watch it myself as well. John C. said I didn't get to ask Sean about Brendan getting corona. I think you might have asked on the community tab, because I did ask Sean. Or someone mentioned in the community tab. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Like it's, I wouldn't wish it on anyone, because it's horrible.
No.
Young people are dying from it. Everyone, you don't have to be old and pre-existing conditions to to die from it. but there's a high level of irony to people like
Oh,
Shaw who have said it's not real and it's not bad getting it.
yeah. I still think he's saying like, "Oh, look, it's 3 days later and I'm
Yeah,
all right."
fuck off.
It's like, it's not
Go on.
all about you, Brendan.
Yeah, you're not the issue here. It's who you give it to is the
Yeah.
issue.
Zneb Rem, if you don't finish the champion rankings, you may have 3 more champs to add to that list after Saturday. I know. Although that makes it even better.
There'll be crowds back in venues by the time Rob does that video.
Yeah. Oh, god damn it. Salvastola, thanks for reminding me to like. Great stuff, Sal. Well done. Talking about watching fights with friends, Keenan K and Not Never says, well, Keenan K forces you never watch fights with friends. They're so casual it burns my mind.
Yeah.
That is true sometimes as well. Although I was thinking about,
casual.
yeah, I have a few friends who, like an old host of the show, Carl. He hasn't. I don't think he's watched MMA in quite a while, but he's
Really?
still, yeah. He doesn't. He's kind of has other things going on. But if he does watch a fight, he knows what's going on. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. But I do have some friends who aren't quite into it. But I have a few who are, at least they watch every event, which is pretty hardcore, if I can say so myself.
My mates usually just watch the McGregor fights and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe Khabib if he's fighting, but they only know when Conor's fighting. That's about it.
Do they all still support Conor? Like,
mixed opinions on that one.
oh really?
Yeah, mixed, yeah.
Interesting. I think we got to all the questions though. So we'll probably just leave it there. But this was fun, Sean, as always. Enjoy the fights in the weekend. I can't wait for them. There's some really, really good fights. There's one more question there, and will we do it? Let's just do it really quickly before we leave. It says, Nebrem, where does Volkanovski rank if he beats Max in his first 2 title fights and then lose the Zombie? It's just in my video. Can't tell. That's a spoiler alert. But
yeah,
like, don't worry. Here's a little kind of preview of the way I was thinking about the rankings and how I was thinking about it. So it would be only on the fighters' championship run, including when they win the title. Because if you're talking about, oh well, they went on this run to get to the belt, then it has to be the title run itself. So when you're talking about that, you got to talk about who did they beat to get the title. So if you look at someone like beating a Max Holloway, who is arguably 1 or 2 in all-time featherweight rankings in terms of champions, that's a big win. You're getting a lot of points for that.
Beating him twice then would be a massive win.
That's massive win. So even though you only have 1 defense, you're probably beating out a lot of other guys who maybe beat lesser champions, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's kind of it's a weird one though. Do you still think that Max Holloway is number 1 featherweight?
Max is my number 1.
Is he? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd probably still go Jose Aldo, but
someone put a stat in there about what was it? Who was his 10-5 in the UFC?
Yeah.
Just wild, and they put it really well. It's like he was so dominant until he wasn't.
Yeah. It's mad. I think you could argue greatest featherweight in the UFC, and I think that's like really close. Like I think you could probably say Max, but if you say best featherweight of all time, you still have Jose Aldo. WEC, it was an incredible run. But yeah, that was the last question. Let's do it. Let's leave it there before we go too far. Sean, as always, great stuff. Enjoy the fights in the weekend, and I'll chat to you tomorrow.
You later, man.